Hey, welcome to Rachel's book reviews and book tips. Today I'm going to be reviewing some Christian suspense and mystery books. A Silas McKay mystery by Luana Ehrlich, book 3 of book 6, 4 stars. This is the first of Ehrlich's many Christian suspense books I have read. I picked it up free during the launch promotion and decided to see what her writing was like. While I enjoyed Three Confess and found it interesting, I'm not sure I like the first person aspect used. I also thought there was too much blow-by-blow writing with unnecessary detail. Three Confess takes you on a step-by-step journey with Silas as he investigates intellectual property theft with Chinese and cybersecurity links. I did at one stage wonder whether there was something up with his new love interest. Maybe that will be revealed in the next book, For Doubt. By the end of the book, I felt I knew Silas well, had shared in some of his grief regarding the recent death of his wife, and believed he would be a good person to hire if you needed a corporate crime solved. I felt I didn't know the rest of the characters as well due to having no idea what their thoughts were due to the first person style with Silas telling the story. If the author used the multiple point of view style, it would have created more depth, in my opinion. The aspects of the book description don't really play out, and so I wonder if it was written first. I don't think he was wrestling with whether his daughter's boyfriend was good enough for her, or that Silas's emotions were too much and causing issues with his investigations. If that was what the author set out to do, she failed, in my opinion. Maybe this is a case of a book being pushed out too quick. I did enjoy the book though. The Christian elements woven into the story were refreshing and written thoughtfully. I recommend this book for people who love Christian mysteries without too much drama or suspense. I sort of want to read number 4, as it follows up on a murder in Three Confess, which I had thought was attributed to the Chinese, but there appears to be some doubt about that when I read the description in the next book. Maybe that is why the next book is called For Doubt. And the next book is Back on Murder by J. Mark Bertrand. A definite 5 stars out of 5, and if I could have, I would give it 5.5 stars. Back on Murder is number 1 in the Roland Mystery series. The ebook edition was created in 2010. I've had it on my Kindle for some years, and thankfully, I finally decided to read it. And I doubt very much it has even a paragraph written by AI, or maybe even cheated by AI, due to its age and the quality of the novel. Writing it would have taken a lot of planning and painstaking work and skill. I like the way Roland is human. There's a failed once was ace detective allocated to investigate cop suicides and public relation car giveaways aimed at netting criminals. During his investigations, he messes up and he feels bad about it. He examines his motives, laments his mistakes, pulls himself up and takes the next step. We are always inside his head, as it is written in the first person, which in this case I think worked. As a result, you only see things through his eyes unless people are talking to him and telling their story. But I think the author makes it work this time. Although, of course, you don't really know what their motives are because you can't get into their heads. But Roland is quite good at discerning where people are probably coming from, judging from his thoughts. You ride the roller coaster with Roland as he is shuffled around different investigations and departments, which in the end will link. You feel his pain at his broken marriage and wonder what trauma has caused him and Charlotte to drift apart. The way the story reveals what actually happened in this area was done sensitively and woven into the plot line effectively. The writing is spot on, with a great balance between description, dialogue, action, and pace. There is not much unnecessary material, which I like. It is snappy and intriguing and has the required twists and turns and complexity. Apart from a small portion of the book at the start, I was hooked and read it in 24 hours. One thing I found so refreshing about this book was the lack of cliche similes and use of words such as shifted, as if it was, and if it was used, it was done well and I didn't notice it. Objects were not humanized and the descriptions were original, and I never thought, oh, not that again, or where have I heard this before in this book? So that was great. This crime novel is classed as a Christian or religious mystery. It is less violent than other regular crime thrillers I've read, and there are no sex scenes. However, the Christian content at first only seems to be that one of his workmates is a Christian, and a missing girl is the daughter of a deceased former famous evangelist. As the story progresses, an element of forgiveness creeps in along with a missions emphasis, and then you learn Roland and his wife's trauma has a loose connection to Christianity. Don't want to give away more at this stage. What makes a book a Christian mystery, suspense, or thriller? In my mind, there needs to be more than a loose tie-in, as in these two books above. More about that later. Cold as the Grave by Kelly Cross, a Sheriff Ray Duke small town mystery, book 1. I bought the Kindle version of this book to specially review this for this book bulletin and compare with the 2 previous novels I've just reviewed. I found it partway down the top 100 lists for Christian suspense bestsellers, so I thought it would be a good bet for a good read. I think it was about number 35 at the time. I wanted to see how much Christian content it would have and if it would be a good quality product given its ranking. The book overview reads, when a seasoned hunter is found murdered in the Colorado high country and a teenage girl vanishes hours later, Sheriff Ray Duke doesn't believe in coincidences. Not in Blue Sky County, not with the snowstorm rolling in, and not with fresh boot tracks pointing to a tangled trail of lies. As Duke digs deeper, what he finds isn't just a missing girl, it's a web of secrets that stretches across families, friendships, and the frozen wilderness they all call home. Sounds great, doesn't it? With tensions boiling over and time running out, Duke must risk everything to bring a colour to justice and a girl safely home. But the closer he gets, the more personal it becomes, and the harder it is to tell who's protecting the innocent and who's just hiding the truth. Perfect for fans of clean, redemptive mysteries, this novel delivers edge-of-your-seat suspense without the grit, just courage, conviction, and hope in the face of darkness. Yes, it was clean. Not sure about redemptive. I'm also not sure what Cross or the publisher means by without the grit, unless they mean unnecessary violence, sex and profanity, and unwholesome detail. If that is so, yes, Cross achieved that. I'm not sure it kept me on the edge of my seat though. Courage, conviction in the face of darkness. Yes, the Sheriff, Duke, and his team displayed courage and conviction. In the face of darkness? Yes, sin and crime is dark, but this was not dark compared to other crime novels I've read. In fact, it seemed, while reading this novel, that there might be something really, really dark going on, but by the ending it appears that was not so. Although we don't really know the extent of exactly what the dead man was doing before he was murdered. I liked, though, how Duke's struggles were portrayed, including his confusion about what was going on in the disappearance of Lacey and the murder of Clayton, as well as his grief regarding his sister and nervousness and suspicions in his family circumstances. He was portrayed as a very human father, husband, and a hard-working detective who put his trust in God and did the right thing. The Christian elements were not pivotal to the story, but appear to be interwoven intentionally. I enjoyed the epilogue and the inclusion of Scout, the dog, and the very touching, heart-wrenching moment at the end. What I struggled with was this. There were so many cliches and similes in the writing that by halfway through, I was ready to put the book down. I also thought the plot was drawn out for word count and found contradictions in the plot line. For example, one minute a character knew about something, but next he didn't. Which was it? Apparent motives changed within paragraphs also. Some of the writing seemed overdramatic for what was happening, and I got the feeling this novel was AO written to a large extent without proper beta reading to give it a human check-over. This would have hopefully edited out the cliché similes and phrases so common in AI-generated books, in which authors are trying to pump out books, sometimes in as little as 1 a month. See my video on how to make your book great by avoiding 14 things, which includes some of the things I see repeatedly in some books as a reviewer. And if you are after some better reading, I'll put a link in the description or comments below for my better reading and copy editing service. Now, were these novels Christian? These are the elements AI says should be in Christian novels. Biblical worldview. The story reflects the truth of God's account and reality often exploring moral choices and the consequences of sin. Centrality of faith. Characters navigate life's challenges, conflicts, and personal growth with God at the center, or they experience a journey towards faith. Themes of redemption and grace. The plot often hinges on salvation, forgiveness, and the power of God's grace rather than just human works. Moral content. Frequently, these books avoid explicit sex, gratuitous violence, and excessive profanity, making them wholesome or clean reads. Purposeful storytelling. Beyond entertainment, the fiction is often designed to glorify Christ, teach or encourage readers in their spiritual walk. Actually, I'd say these three novels really only provided the moral content aspect well. They maybe ventured into the centrality of faith a bit. However, as someone who enjoys novels with a Christian emphasis, I must say I felt the Christian aspects were a little too superficial and not entwined in depth with the writing. And I seriously wasn't planning to do this, but this seems like the perfect opportunity to tell you about my book, Sebastian, Truth and Lies. It's a Christian suspense mystery with the main character's journey towards a Christian faith pivotal to the plot and character development. As I wrote the book, it took me 18 months. My desire was to portray someone's journey towards faith, explain just what Christians believe, and have my main character grapple with issues of trust, faith, and justice, and their own sinfulness and humanness, and struggle with just why there is so much evil in the world. Check it out on Amazon and read some of the reviews. I'm working on book 2, but I refuse to do a rush job. Thanks for tuning in, and please like and subscribe if you like my content.